Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and if you've been following the channel, you know that I've been a little bit worried about Forspoken on PC as far as the system requirements go. We're 1 week away from the release of the game, and we hadn't gotten system requirements until now, and I do believe, as far as just part for part, this is the highest end requirements that I've ever seen for a video game be listed. Maybe ever? I think it's fair to say that. I don't think a game has ever gone this far in terms of what they recommended for the specific recommendations they have. Now, they have one tier for 720 30 FPS, 1440p 30 FPS, and then 2160p and 60 FPS. Very weird tier breakdown. You would think that you would just have a 60 FPS option, and if you want to do multiple tiers, like, these are the tiers you're gonna pick: 720 at 30, 1440 at 30, and then 4K at 60. That's just odd to me. Now, this is coming from the Genki_Japan Twitter account. I don't believe on the Steam page it is yet updated. Let me give you guys an update. As of the recording of this video, do we have system requirements? We do have system requirements, actually, on the Steam page now as well. So there's minimum and recommended on the Steam page. We have one additional tier for the 4K. Now, looks like the Steam requirements and the requirements I'm looking at on Twitter are the exact same, so we'll just go over all of the tiers. But boy, oh boy, pack a lunch, brother, because if you're trying to play this game at 1440p, yeah, you're gonna need quite a beefy machine. If you're trying to play this game at 4K at 60 FPS, be prepared to sell your leg, probably both of them. So, let's get right into it, and let's start things off with the minimum requirements, which this is pretty tame, but bear in mind this is 720p at 30 FPS. A lot of people would think you're living in the Stone Age if you're trying to play at 720 30 FPS. Nonetheless, Ryzen 5 1600, i7 3770, older CPUs there, i7 3770, that was Ivy Bridge, right? Yeah, the 3000 series I believe was Ivy Bridge. GPU, you're looking at an RX 5500 XT, 8GB, or a GTX 1060 6GB. 16GB of RAM still at the minimum end of things. That is pretty notable, and we'll get to, you know, the higher end stuff, but that is something you definitely want to pay attention to, and that, again, 720p, 30 frames per second. That is imperative that you do look at that. Recommended. Here we go. Here's where things get really, really interesting. CPU requirement, Ryzen 5 3600, i7 8700K. That's 3.7 gigahertz or better on both CPUs. Now for the GPU. This is recommended. 1440p, 30 frames per second. RX 6700 XT or a RTX 3070. Yes, a 3070 for 1440p at 30 frames per second. That's not the part I find the most interesting. Recommended 24 gigabytes of RAM. I do believe this is the first game I've seen to recommend 24 gigabytes of RAM, and it just gets higher and higher from there on out. So that is 1440p, 30 frames per second. We don't have, like, official settings as far as what that's going to be running at. I would imagine that's maxed out with all the bells and whistles on, because a 3070 is a premier GPU still. If you have a 3070, you probably think, man, I'm good for a couple of years, baby. Well, if you're trying to play Forspoken at 60 frames per second at 1440p, guess what, brother? You ain't good. So, yeah, do take that in mind. They also do note that recommended is an SSD at 150 gigabytes. So, yeah, 150 gigs or more. I believe it was revealed that the PlayStation install is like 88 gigabytes, so, you know, bear that in mind as well, but 150 gigabytes there. And boy, oh boy, for the few souls that would dare run this game at 4K 60 FPS. Do you actually think you have the PC to run that? Well, let's look at the 4K requirements. Ryzen 5 5800X, i7 12700, that is the CPU for 4K 60 FPS. RX 6800 XT or an RTX 4080. Let's go. RTX 4080 showing up in the, you know, this is top tier. How many people are trying to play this game at 4K 60? I would imagine that's very few and far between. So, you know, it's just fun to see an RTX 3080, or excuse me, a 4080 be a 4K recommended GPU. But it is 4K, it's 60 frames per second. This is a visual delight, so to speak. It is a visually impressive game, so take that for what you will. 32 gigabytes of RAM at top tier as well, so Ay, those requirements, man. 32 gigabytes, and again, that's 4K 60 frames per second, and they do note, for 4K 60 FPS, they would recommend an NVMe SSD at 150 gigabytes or more. I think most of you guys probably have an NVMe at this stage. If not, you at least have an SSD, so yikes. These are some of the most insane system requirements I've ever seen for a video game. I was expecting them to be pretty insane, given the fact that we've all, or a lot of people have checked out the demo on PlayStation 5. The performance mode on PlayStation 5, which docks down the resolution to maintain a target 60 frames per second. Imperative word there, target 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5. If you play the demo, that game absolutely dips in performance in terms of it doesn't stay at a lock 60 frames per second. So just the idea in my head, if we're not maintaining a lock 60 FPS in the performance mode on PS5, for the people that are trying to play this game at 1440p 60 frames per second, you really gotta pack a lunch and make sure you have a high quality PC. You know, this is gonna be one of those games that I feel like a lot of people are actually gonna surprisingly be locked out of playing the game based on the system requirements. Like, these are some of the highest system requirements, again, maybe of all time. Like, this might be the highest system requirements I've ever seen. Like, I don't recall, like, Dead Space Remake doesn't have this crazy system requirements. You look at these upcoming games, Hogwarts Legacy, etc., etc. Maybe Hogwarts Legacy at the top end, but I don't even believe Hogwarts Legacy's top end requirements are that high. Remember, Hogwarts Legacy is a cross-gen title, so this is something to definitely take into account. Also, bear in mind that this is a $70 game on PC as well. $70 on consoles, it's $70 on PC, so that might be something that does deter you. Now, on Green Man Gaming, they are selling the game like 20% off, so you can get it for like 58 bucks. So I would recommend going that route if you are adamant you're going to pick this game up. Remember, this is a vast open-world action RPG. There's going to be a sizable amount of content. It's also being done by Luminous Productions, who are the developers of Final Fantasy 15. And if you guys recall, Final Fantasy 15's PC version, while it looked fantastic, it did have issues. At this point, I feel like the majority of people can go into that game and have a really good visual and technical experience with it. You know, the game itself, you can think what you want of it. I was a little disappointed by Final Fantasy 15, and maybe saying a little is a little mild. I wish we had the demo for Forspoken on PC, because this is a game that I really foresee a lot of people would have liked to see how the game would run on their PC and then make their buying decision. Ultimately, if you buy the game directly from Steam, you do have that 2-hour window to fund the game, so that's not a big deal. Remember, if you do buy it from a separate retailer like Green Man Gaming, you won't have that 2-hour window to refund the game. I always like to make that clear for you guys. For that 2-hour window refund to be in effect, you have to buy the game directly from Steam, so bear that in mind as well. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the system requirements. This might be, again, the highest system requirements I've ever seen for a video game, which makes sense. I mean, it's the latest, you know, really visually impressive game, but you look at the upcoming games and ultimately, you would think like an FF16 would come to PC as well. It'd be interesting to see the system requirements on that game, you know, when the time comes. 6-month exclusivity on PlayStation 5, of course. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. I feel like this is going to cause a lot of discourse within the PC gaming community, so interested to hear what you guys think. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.